Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we're doing something a bit different. We are talking about the worst hot take in Legends of Runeterra's history, and that might be, a bit of a stretch, I suppose. I would definitely put this one up there, though, and this was not held by any one particular person. This was held by quite a few people on multiple different platforms. We're going to show a video of one of this take, but, of a popular streamer sort of regurgitating this particular hot take in mind. But I think there was plenty of other people on Reddit. I remember at the time seeing a lot of Reddit comments about this, and I remember seeing at the time a lot of people in my comments section, because I did a reaction to this thing as well, and a lot of people in my comments said the same thing. But this is not a flame of those people in particular. I'm going to use this video more as sort of a device to point something out that I think a lot of people, when they are reviewing cards or thinking about cards, perhaps miss. And hopefully, when the newer cards for the next expansion come out, or anytime there is balance changes, that you can recognize this and think, okay, and learn something from this video, hopefully, for when those come about, so that you can avoid making bad mistakes. Now, there are plenty of good options for, bad hot takes. Plenty of us have had them, myself included. Notable ones recently, I think, are the LeBlanc reaction, which I was very guilty of getting horribly wrong, with a lot of other people as well. I also have terrible hot takes from time to time. And I remember, there's a lot of talk about Zoe, was another one that a lot of people got wrong. I probably got less wrong, but I too did not expect Zoe to be that good. I thought she'd be like slightly below average. I know a lot of people thought she'd be complete trash, but it turns out she's pretty good. And there's been plenty of others examples throughout the past as well. I remember a lot of people thought Riven was going to be absolutely insane, I think myself included. Then that never brought out, and perhaps we can touch on that a bit later on, why that is. But there's been plenty of examples. Jarvan was another one that kind of comes to mind recently, where a lot of people thought even the 5-3 version of Jarvan would be pretty good. But none of these, to me, are the biggest mistake. And I'm going to explain why I think, it's perhaps a bad hot take that these people had. Thankfully, I did not, although, as I've just mentioned, I am not foreign to making a lot of bad hot takes myself. But again, just to quickly reiterate, just in case any of you, I don't know, people are weird, this is not a flame of any particular individual or anyone who had this take. It's a card game. Like, we all get things wrong, as I've just said. This is just to sort of highlight something, which we'll get to after we watch the reaction to this take and what this take is about. So here is the evidence that I need, and as you can see, it is your boy Swimstream. We're in patch 1.13, and we have the Lee Sin nerf. Or was it a nerf? Well, let's find out.
Went to 5 health. It's going up.
Wait, I'm so confused. Why are they nerfing buffing Lee Sin? What's happening? Wait, there's a problem here.
Wait.
So there it was, and this was populated by a lot of people at the time, that this change, this Lee Sin change from 4 to 5 mana, but from 4 to 5 health, was a buff to Lee Sin, that they buffed his health. And I think that this was a common misconception. So if we go back to LoR, we can sort of explain why perhaps this, in my mind, was a particularly bad hot take. Just before we do, again, this is no flame or call out of Swim, or I think it was Kavira who was also on that call there. I like watching Swim's videos and content, and as soon as I do my reactions, I go over to Swim's stream to watch his reactions to when new cards come out or whatever. I always do that, and I enjoy watching them talk, whoever he has on with him, about it as well. So I have nothing against Swim at all, so don't get that twisted in any way. But why was this a bad take? Well, I mean, first off, let's just take the take for itself. A mana increase, but also a health increase, right? And they thought that the health increase was very significant. I mean, if you just look at the card Lee Sin and think about how Lee Sin plays, of course, Lee Sin's health isn't really that important because he gets barrier all the time, and his level up form doesn't, will dragon kick anything before it ever hits anything in combat, whether Lee Sin has barrier or not. So, essentially, Lee Sin's health, I mean, maybe if it was 1 or 2, it would make a difference, but from 4 to 5, like, you know, good luck, because anytime you even, like, try to challenge Lee Sin with one of your units, you know, he's probably going to get barrier, and then, you know, even if you try and pop the barrier, they probably have deny or notify ready for you, so, you know, killing Lee Sin health-wise is really, really hard, and that's kind of, you know, one of the main issues that a lot of people had with Lee Sin. So just straight away from sort of a logic standpoint, you know, Lee Sin's health is really not that big of a factor. It is on a lot of other cards, but for Lee Sin, just the way the card is, not really a major buff. Maybe slightly relevant in some very niche situations, but most of the time, this number from 4 to 5 doesn't make that much of a difference. And I'm sure you could probably think back to your games against any Lee Sin deck and think, yeah, if it had 4 health or 5 health, it's kind of the same. Like, it doesn't really make a difference. But obviously the mana increase did make a difference, and quite a large one at that. Not a crazy difference, and this is, again, you know, maybe this isn't the worst hot take in terms of being the furthest out from, you know, where exactly it ended up. But I think it was very odd for people to look at that change and think that that is a buff. But I think, and this is kind of what I want to highlight in this video, is that people always seem to underestimate the idea of mana cost. And actually we can look at that as the same thing for some of those champions that I just mentioned. Why did we look at Riven and think Riven is going to be really, really good? Well, it's because she's a 3 mana 3/4 that generates you cards. Now Draven's a 3 mana 3/3 that generates you cards. So Riven's just got 1 extra health. That's better, right? Well, no, because these cards cost 1 mana. And I think if they didn't cost 1 mana, then Riven probably would be better than Draven, which is quite a scary thought. So, you know, maybe don't do that, but we'll see. But, you know, these things cost mana, and that's why Riven didn't quite feel as good as Draven, where his axes are free. Another example is Jarvan. You know, a lot of people looked at Jarvan, read this text, burst speed attacker, wow, crazy, that's going to be super, super strong. But they kind of forgot, well, you have to pay 6 mana for that as well. And 6 mana is quite a lot to challenge the weakest enemy. Oh, the strongest enemy, sorry. I don't know where I got weakest from, but to challenge the strongest enemy, even so, it's like, that's a lot of mana, you know, and you probably might not have enough mana to, like, you know, buff Jarvan up, or, you know, like, use combat tricks somewhere else, or, you know, win other trades when they have, you know, all their mana available to them. So, yeah, a big mana commitment. I think that a lot of people get this wrong, and I first learned this a long time ago when I was wrong with another hot take of mine, and again, a lot of other people were as well, and this was a long time ago. This was during, I think, like, just after the Bilgewater expansion, but it was to do with Karma. Karma went from 5 to 6 mana, and me and a lot of other people went, well, what does that change? Because you just wait for turn 10 with Karma, so mana isn't really an issue. And that seems to make sense, right? Like, of all the cards, you would think Karma is the one where, you know, you could make a mana cost, you know, anything, and it doesn't matter because you're waiting for turn 10 either way. So a change from 5 to 6 just seems so small, but it wasn't. It did make a big difference, and Karma has never really seen top tier play since. And you might think, why is that? Like, why is a mana change such a big difference? And I think the answer is, like, you know, mana is, like, super important in this game, and something's mana cost is really, 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 really crucial. And that's why Karma, you know, despite being a champion that you would think mana costs, like, you know, I mean, sure, if they increased it to like 10, then yeah, obviously that would be a big nerf. But from 5 to 6 at the time, it really didn't seem like, well, that's gonna do nothing, but it really did. And this is from this moment on, I kind of realized, wow, if that you can change any card and get +1 mana if you don't change the rest of it, that card will suffer pretty heavily. And that's kind of where I learned it. And I think a lot of people maybe struggle with this idea, and I've seen people sort of underestimate cards or overestimate things quite a lot based on the fact that they kind of just disregard. They read this, maybe look at this, forget that. Whereas I think most importantly, look at this, then probably read, then look at these, and you'll probably end up with, you know, a much better understanding of how good this card is really. Because there are plenty of cards, you know, plenty of champions even that, like Yasuo. If you made Yasuo a 3 mana 3/3, he'd be a lot better. It, you might not necessarily assume that straight away, but getting Yasuo down a turn earlier and get him, caught dealing damage to things, particularly smaller units at that point, obviously would make a big deal. And I think that that is something that people have often missed. And so I just wanted to sort of point out, again, not a flame of anyone involved. I just want to call out and sort of maybe help you sort of realize or, educate you in some way. Because you're all idiots, obviously, if you're watching this channel. That when you see the next cards, what I would do if you want to make some evaluation of your own is look at this first. Look at this number in this top left. That's really important. And then read the card. Because when you don't look at this or you disregard that, that's when you're going to get things wrong a lot of the time. And then another good example is Zoe. A lot of people thought about Zoe, well, she's never going to level up. What a useless champion. How are you ever going to play 10 cards with different names and have this 1/1 survive? And it's I've seen. What are we doing? That's what a lot of people said, but at the end of the day, Zoe's a 1 mana card. Like, there's nothing that can positively trade with Zoe. She's a 1 mana card. If she gets Thermo Beam for 1, you've traded 1 card for 1. Sure, that's like the worst case scenario, but at the end of the day, that's your worst case, is a trade 1 for 1. There's nothing that can beat Zoe. And that is what is important. So, with that said, I think that's where I'm going to end this one. We've been through the bad hot take, but I think overall what we've done is we've learned that mana cost is really what matters with these champions, and there's plenty of examples. I just looked at Aphelios there and thought, what a good example again. When these are 2 mana, he's way too good. But when they're 3, he's really, really bad. So, keep that in mind the next time that you are thinking about cards, or, potentially how you would think about changing cards, that your mana increase/decrease is a big, big change that you need to be very careful with and only use in very specific situations. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow with another Legends of Runeterra video. Probably some more discussion things that I've been thinking about. And yeah, have a really nice day. Until then.